Maximillionaire here. This is the Tao of Bao, Part 4. In this episode, we will be finishing the affidavit. So let's continue reading from the affidavit. On Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, Municipal Court, a court of record for the city of Crowley, was set to be conducted. James, Joe, Gunner, and offender Bao documented their journey to the municipal building where the court was scheduled to be held. While documenting their journey, Blank asked if the group was instructed that they were not allowed to be recording in the courtroom, to which Blank was given confirmation that recording was prohibited.
We're going to a public courtroom. There's a friend of ours here that has court today, and they say that you can't record in there, right? That you can't.
Multiple times.
But it's a public hearing.
But see, the reasons that they've given previously as to why we can't record no longer exist. A, their 4205 rule doesn't apply because we're not making any kind of disturbance. And B, they don't have some kind of polling station or voting going on. So we're going to see what kind of third pile of crap they try to throw in our laps.
Little did they know, Darla Peavy had just 6 days previously invented 8 new pages of rules. You can see them here. This begs the question, why do you make up 8 pages of rules and post them on an easel if in your rules you say that to the Crowley Municipal Court only Rule 2 applies for decorum in the courtroom? It should be noted that recording is not what is prohibited. It is electronic devices being powered on or even allowed in the courtroom. In the live stream, the group then show that they had a plan to enter at separate times and walk into the courtroom and knowingly violate the rules set forth by the sitting judge, Darla Peavy, identified as the victim, per the canons of the Code of Judicial Conduct and the Government Code.
Alright, so Gunner's going to go in to get your equipment set up. I kind of want to get in there early to see what happens, and then I guess you can roll in solo after me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got about 5 minutes till we start going.
Right. I'll see you guys.
All right, so
Let me get about 30 feet ahead of you, so they'll definitely let me.
okay.
Once inside the courtroom, which was not called into the session at that time, James sits in the back and has an electronic device powered on recording. James walked past a sign clearly marked in English indicating the rule of no electronic devices allowed in the courtroom, sat in a chair with the printed rules on it for further clarification and education, and continued his actions. Once court was called into session, the bailiff announced that the court was being called into session and that all electronic devices must be secured outside the courtroom. James lowered his camera during the announcement, and once the rest of the courtroom sat down, he raised his electronic device back up and continued to record.
Municipal Court of Crowley is now in session. Please make sure that no devices and cell phones, recorders, food, or drink are in the courtroom.
You can be seated, thank you.
At that time, Judge Peavy again indicated that no electronic devices were allowed in the courtroom and that they were to be secured outside of the courtroom.
Everybody has all of their cell phones put away in their cars off the property, correct?
Judge Peavy then began court proceedings. At that time, as James was still using an electronic device, Judge Peavy then attempted to address James, and at that time, James pretended to be hard of hearing. After addressing James, James immediately stated that he thought this was a public hearing to Judge Peavy, and continued to pretend he was hard of hearing. James was found in contempt of court for the continued violation of the posted and verbalized court rules. The judge informed James that someone would explain to him what his violation was, and James was able to hear that.
Sir, could you stand up, please?
Sir, you've been in the back of the recorder.
What's that?
All electronic devices are to be left out of the courtroom.
Is there a secret going on in here?
Oh,
Is this a secret hearing?
I'm hard of hearing, but I think it's a public hearing, right?
The public courtroom, right?
Sir, you are in contempt of court.
I can't hear you.
There'll be an officer that will explain.
Now, anybody that has watched James Freeman in his videos know that James is hard of hearing. As a matter of fact, Bao even mentions this.
We're going to be coming after James, guys. We all know James can't hear.
Now, who was this detective to determine that James was not hard of hearing? And who was the bailiff also to determine that James was not hard of hearing, as we can hear him state? Are they doctors? Are they medical professionals? Have they given him a hearing test? How do they know this? Or is this merely their opinion?
Please step out in the hall.
Yeah, I can't hear.
That's fine, sir.
Okay.
No recording, you could hear fine. No recording, you could hear fine.
Once outside of the courtroom, the bailiff explained to James what was going on and that he was being arrested for contempt of court.
So can I record out here then?
Sir, you already found in contempt of court. Can you put your camera down, please?
Why is that?
She found you in contempt of court.
As the bailiff was dealing with James, Bao followed them out of the courtroom and became verbally belligerent.
How?
Under what authority can she hold him under contempt? Under what
I
court's
couldn't
authority?
hear.
I'm not talking to you, sir.
I couldn't hear anything from the
Under
back.
what court's authority can she hold him under contempt? There's no injured party here. How can this be a court if there's not an injured party here?
When patrol officers arrived to take James into custody, Bao indicated that they better not put him in cuffs.
They just threatened James, guys. They better not put him in cuffs. They better not put him in cuffs.
Once James was instructed to place his hands behind his back and was actually placed into custody, Bao gave the verbal instructions to approximately 1,000 viewers of the YouTube live stream to, quote, call up here, unquote.
All right, guys, call up here.
Bao indicated that he did not know the number, but the viewers could Google it.
Google it, Crowley City Hall. Crowley City Hall, Crowley Police Department.
Viewers then started posting the contact numbers for the Crowley Police Department, Crowley City Court, and Judge Peavy's personal office, as she is a practicing attorney. Within minutes of Bao giving the order for the viewers to start calling, the law office of Darla Peavy received numerous phone calls. The exact number of calls can't be identified, as the office does not have the ability to record incoming phone calls, but it is identified that they received in total hundreds of calls. Some of the calls were anonymous, and others were vulgar and abusive, with vague threats and derogatory comments.
Hello, you've reached the law office of Darla Peavy. All lines are tied up at the moment, or there's no one currently in the office. Please leave a detailed message after the beep, and someone from our office will return your call as soon as possible. Please note office hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Friday, 9 a.m. to noon. Thank you, and have a great day.
Hi there, Darla. This is Maximillionaire. I'm looking for a lawyer that is well versed in the 14th Amendment, due process of law, and contempt of court rules in Texas. Oh, wait, that's certainly not you. Bye.
Over 30 messages were left on the voicemail as the secretaries of the office became scared, prompting them to call the Crowley Police Department requesting an officer to speak with. Were these women scared? According to the chat, they were upset. They were pissed. They were hanging up on people. They weren't scared. Statements were taken from both parties at the office, as well as the recordings showing that vulgar and profane language was used during the numerous messages. For further documentation of the cause from Bao's instructions, over 150 recorded calls from the Crowley Police Department, approximately 50 calls from the Crowley Municipal Court, and the recorded calls from the office of Darla Peavy have been attached to this incident. When Peavy returned to her office, she found that she had received numerous calls to her phone line using terms identified as bitch and cunt. Peavy found these terms to be offensive and profane while being used in an abusive manner. Peavy completed a statement as well to be attached to the incident. While investigating the call for service, it is found that later on the same day that Bao came to the Crowley Police Department with a fraudulent writ of habeas corpus signed by himself. When the release of James and Gunner, who was also arrested for contempt of court, was denied, ethics instead, with Bao, then traveled to the property of Peavy, identified as her office, located at 805 East FM 1187, within the jurisdiction of the city of Crowley in Tarrant County. Bao conducted another live stream YouTube video in which he posted the signage for the office of Peavy as well as Ducati Insurance, as they are placed together for advertisement. In the video, Bao indicates that he wants the viewers to call all of the local businesses to tell them what kind of person Peavy is.
Let every single business here in this town know what this monster Darla has done to our friends. Let every single of her neighbors know what she's doing to our friends.
Bao indicates that they are going to blow them up, meaning placing numerous phone calls in an attempt to call flood their businesses.
Why ring up the courthouse and why ring up the police station? Blow up every single business around here and ask them, hey, do you guys know what's going on?
Directly after the incident, Ducati received several phone calls in reference to the legal arrest of James, which are the result of Bao's instructions for people to call the businesses. A statement was taken from the representative of Ducati indicating that phone calls were received directly related to the incident. Peavy has received numerous emails and Google reviews affecting her business as a result of the actions of Bao instructing people to apply public pressure. It is noted that in the weeks prior, that Bao is caught on camera stating that he is going to deal with Peavy personally. It is my belief, based upon the contained report within, that the offense did occur and that the elements of the offense exist. In part 5 of the Tao of Bao, we're going to see Bao's arrest and we're going to examine the law that he is charged with breaking.